What's up? This is Brandon London, and you're listening to the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. You hear that? The Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. Let's go, Giants.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, in association with Andy's Man Club, lads, it's okay to talk. Tonight, we are 100% British, but absolutely, as always, still 100% Giants. It's Dan, Shane, and producer Craig back with you to break down this weekend's game against the Los Angeles Rams, who come to MetLife in what will be our penultimate game of the season, following our elimination from playoff contention last week on Christmas Day. Lads, how we doing?
Yeah, not bad. Kind of like, it's a bit mad when you think that we've got like sort of 2 games left. And I was only thinking about it earlier. It literally feels like New York was last week, the Washington meetup was the week before, and the Birmingham meetup was the week before that. Like, just when I think back, I'm like, geez, how quick have these kind of like 3 months gone?
Yeah, it's funny. I was having this conversation with one of my mates, Neil, the other day, where we were talking about, UK football and the NFL and the off season, and it's mental when you think that like by the second week in February the Super Bowl happens and then that's it, and then we get nothing until August, until preseason. Like the off season's so long, but so much happens. It's so weird. And the funny thing is full well before we know it, we'll be at schedule release and we'll be talking about what's coming up. Like, it's absolutely mental. And in a weird way, I'm kind of happy that the season's almost over because it's been that kind of season. But in the same way, so much has happened as a podcast. I'm kind of gutted as well.
Yeah, I mean, the season is almost over. It's as disappointing as it is, and it has been this year. Obviously, it's not what we expected it to be, and not what anyone expected it to be, really. But yeah, the off season coming up, it's a long slog. But we've got the playoffs and the Super Bowl to look forward to over the next sort of month or so. At the end of the day, we can sit back, relax, and enjoy and watch it because we know that our team isn't in contention. We're not sort of on the edge of our seat, biting our nails, hoping that we make it to the next round. So, every cloud has a silver lining, and the silver lining is we can enjoy the playoffs. Yeah, and there is a huge amount of time between the Super Bowl and preseason in August, and I've spoken about it with friends before as well. It's a bit of a strange one because those that aren't used to watching this game or following this game think of a off season break of maybe 6 to 8 weeks is what we get in sort of in English football. We get it's now beginning of June really that for the football season wraps up, and then it's all go again at the beginning of August. That's what, a 2-month break, and there usually is every other year an international tournament in the middle of that summer break as well. So we usually have something to tide us by. So having a 6-month window where not really much happens but a lot happens at the same time is a bit of a strange one. But and it's understandable when sort of interest in the game, it peaks during the season and it's going for a bit of a trough during the off season because there isn't much going on. But yeah, we look forward to the off season because we'll still be here and we'll still be bringing you all the latest on the Giants from over here in the UK. But as we mentioned on yesterday evening's podcast, obviously this is a pre-recorded episode because of time constraints being at Christmas. And we're all very busy, so we obviously won't be able to get your predictions live, but throw your predictions in the comments or throw them onto our social media accounts, and we'll be sure to highlight them and comment on them before the game on Sunday. Don't forget as well, our friends over at usasports.co.uk can get yourself some post-Christmas Giants merch. Use the code BIGBLUE to get yourself 10% off your entire order. There's been a plethora of injuries this season, which I'm sure you'll all agree. And this week is no different. Shane, what's the latest?
Yeah, I'm just sat in. I'm just thinking of I being stitched up, having to talk about Evan Neal on IR. I mean, like, what am I being stitched up with the O line again here, or what? What's going on here?
Don't make me bring up that picture of you holding his jersey.
That was photoshopped. But anyway,
bring it up.
After he was placed on IR by the Giants last week, Neil, who did only appear in 7 games this season, is his first 2 seasons of the league. I think it's fair to say severely hampered by injury and inconsistency. This year, he posted a 38.5 PFF pass blocking grade amongst the team's worst performers. And he's actually worse. Yes, that's correct. Worse than his 42.3 grade last year. This season, he in the last 2 seasons, he has allowed 10 sacks, 15 quarterback hits, and 57 hurries in the last 2 seasons, whilst being flagged 12 times. How do you allow 57 hurries? What are you doing? Look, you've started me now. Look, I'm off on one.
It's a little bit concerning.
Craig's thinking this is the last time I'm going to give Shane some O-line news to read out.
It's not the last time. It won't be the last time at all.
Maybe that's a segment for the off season where we get Shane's O-line report.
Well, he is the O-line guru. Am I not wrong?
Stop it. Stop it. That's the only warning I'm giving you now. Dave was asked about Neil's injury, and he said Evan's done everything he could possibly do, but couldn't make it here, so there'll be stuff down the road. But the young man's done everything he could possibly do, just didn't work out. I don't know if he's on about the injury or career there, to be honest with you. No idea.
I mean, it's almost like it does sound like he's alluding to something more than just his injury, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's just not me being cynical. Like, I know I'm very rarely cynical anyway, but, I mean, he's
especially
talking there. Exactly. I mean, the stuff down the road was then confirmed by Dave's to be potential surgery in the off-season. I mean, if it means more, Dave's ain't exactly going to come out and turn around and admit it, is he? Let's be honest. And this will likely eat into his off-season preparations, including mini-camp, which should be healthy by the time training camp begins. Yay. Anyway, we did hope that Evan Neal would kind of, have second season improvements that kind of Andrew Thomas did show a few years ago, but he's gone backwards, which kind of did seem hard to do at one point. But where do we go from here, Craig?
I'm not really sure, because by the sounds of the bye-week press conference that we had from Joe Shane, I can't remember who it was, but one of the sort of beat writers put to him about, oh, well, do you move him to guard? And he seemed very kind of dismissive of it, just saying, well, no, he's gonna continue to play tackle. But he didn't say starting tackle. So I do kind of wonder what we do. In the past off season, obviously Neil worked quite heavily with an ex-NFL player whose name just completely escapes me right now. But he was working on technique and footwork and everything like that. And obviously it didn't make a big difference, but I do wonder if part of that is confidence based. The Cowboys game is enough to give anyone nightmares. I think it still gives us nightmares watching it at god awful hour in a casino. So I don't know. Do we fire Bobby Johnson and maybe the new coach comes in and we see improvements? Who knows? It really is difficult, because you kind of do feel like he will be back at right tackle next year, and that they will persist, because it's not like he was a Getterman pick. It was a Joe Shane and Brian Dable pick. But how long do you give it until you go, actually, Tyree Phillips has done better and has been serviceable, and do we move him to guard? That was one of the things that Neil did at Bama, was that he played right tackle, he played left tackle, but he did play at guard. So maybe, as some people on Twitter have kind of alluded to, you move him to left guard next to Andrew Thomas, and you kind of slot him in there, and we look at right tackle in either free agency or the draft. There's so many different things that you can we look at right tackle in free agency because we don't do tackles in the draft. Is that right?
That's correct.
For anybody listening, Shane was shaking his head with some veracity there that I
And the
thought you
death
might take
stare.
on. There was a
I'll
death
do
stare.
a stable death stare impression.
There was a very impressive death stare there, I must admit.
So that there's obviously options, but I've waffled enough there. Dan?
I mean, coming out of Alabama, I think you expect the guy to be NFL ready. Coming in out of Alabama as a 7th overall pick, you absolutely expect him to be NFL ready, and for whatever reason, it hasn't worked for him. You said that his PFF grade is lower this year than it was in his rookie season. I'm not his play this season has been pretty poor. I think his overall grade this season was at 38.5 or something like that. I think it was only Matt Pert, Shane Lemieux, and Jalen Mayfield have worse grades than him, and all three of those have played significantly fewer snaps. In all honesty, I think he's probably seen his. I think we've seen the last of Evan Neal at right tackle. I don't think he maybe as a starting right tackle anyway. I don't think we see him as our starting right tackle in 2024. There's likely to be a better option out there in free agency. There may even potentially be a better option. No, I won't say it. There's likely to be a better option in free agency. He's got a lot to prove. Obviously, if he is going to have surgery in the off season, he's not going to be available to when did you say until not like going to mini camp past that, whenever it was. So I can't see him offering much in the way of help at right tackle in the future. And I think maybe potentially move him inside and use him as a guard. But it's a shame because he had so much promise coming in as a 7th overall pick. And, we were all very, very happy with the pick at the time. Even you, Shane, you were quite happy with that pick at the time, weren't you?
I'm not gonna start. I've got to get a bed in a little while to get up. I don't need the whole line of adrenaline running through me.
Fair play. Yeah, I think he's got a lot to prove in the off season for him to be considered our starting right tackle next season. And with his injury and with his potential surgery, I don't think he's going to prove that. So I think we're going to potentially look elsewhere.
And obviously, outside of the Evan Neal scenario, injuries surrounding punters and kickers we alluded to on the last episode about Jamie Gillan suffering in the injury on Christmas Day. The Giants have had 4 kickers on the roster this year, and we could kind of see a 5th come onto the roster if Jamie Gillan does get kind of held back or kind of dropped for the remainder of the season. Dave's revealed that Gillan was perfectly fine prior to the game, a little bit like Graham Gano. That's a different conversation. But he suffered the injury when attempting to tackle. He said Jamie was good to go. He mishit the first ball. Actually, what happened was that first return that they had, returned it all the way down to positive territory. He was going to make the tackle and he landed on his knee, and that's what's bothering him right now. So it was on the tackle, on the return, on that first punt. And it's kind of a little bit funny, and it really, like, kind of, you think back to that week one game against Dallas. Andrew Thomas got injured through a blocked field goal return, and now our punter towards the end of the season is getting injured on a punt return. It's just kind of like it's been the story of our season in a way with these kind of injuries and that. But Abel's non-committal on whether the Giants would potentially work out some punters, but they did try out Pat O'Donnell, Michael Pilardi, and Corliss Waitman prior to the Eagles game. Now, if Gillan does get shut down for the season, that's going to be the 4th specialist that has been injured during this season. Is that purely unlucky, or do you reckon there's more to it, Dan?
I think it's more bad luck than anything. Kickers and punters getting injured isn't a particularly common occurrence around the league. let alone having 3 place kickers and a punter get injured in the same season. So, I think it's more bad luck for me than anything. Could it be down to conditioning? Maybe, but a lot of the injuries seem to have been. I think Gano's was what was Gano's injury? I can't remember off the top of my head. It was a muscular injury, wasn't it? Yeah, hamstring.
Hamstring, yeah.
Randy Bullock's was a hamstring as well, or calf. And was it Cade York? His was a hamstring or calf as well. So the three kickers that have got injured whilst they've been with us this season have all been muscular. So maybe it is conditioning. I don't know, but it's unusual. But I think it's more bad luck than anything. What do you reckon, Craig?
Yeah, it is just pure unlucky, isn't it? It's laughable when you think about it. Graham Gano's been, Mr. Automatic for so many seasons for us, and it really has been that kind of anchor at the kicking position where we've never had to worry about a kicker coming on. And then obviously he's had a really bad statistical year due to the injury. And then obviously Randy Bullock comes in. We don't seem to trust him to kick a field goal on his first game. Slowly we get a bit of confidence in him, and then he goes down, and Gillen makes a field goal, and now we're on to 39-year-old Mason Crosby, who is a phenomenal kicker. Don't get me wrong, absolutely incredible for the Packers, really, really was, and made a 52-yarder for us, obviously on Christmas Day.
He I think even he looked surprised that he made that.
Yeah, it was funny because I think there was a stat that came up on the screen that said what was it, 14 seasons I think he was with the Packers for, or something like that, and his very first field goal he made for the Packers, I think they said, was against the Cowboys, and it was a 54-yarder. So there's obviously something a little bit written in the stars there. I did read, I can't find the tweet either, but it's like Art Stapleton said it's the first time since 1985 that 3 different kickers have made field goals for the Giants. Crosby can make it 4 on Monday. And I think you have to go back to like the 50s for the last time that the Giants had 4 players make a field goal for them. So it just shows how unprecedented that is. In the terms of the punting game, I mean, Gillen's been good this season. There's a reason that he's second in the NFC for Pro Bowl votes, or was when the voting was coming to an end. But it wasn't great on Christmas Day, was it? It wasn't, and
no.
But we don't have anything to play for. But you don't want to you don't want to make it worse for the player. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I think
we've got draft picks to play for.
Not a true fan. What?
I'm just waiting for the death stare off as Dan mentions O-line and Shane mentions tanking, and there's just a stare off.
Everything's off the board tonight, I tell you.
Tanking shouldn't be allowed. All right, Craig, let's talk Rams. How have they been so far this season?
In the preseason, a lot of people looked at the Rams team. They got rid of a lot of players. Jalen Ramsey went. They didn't bring in many. They obviously had gone all in for the Super Bowls and had a bad season last year. But they've kind of defied all the detractors that kind of reviewed them in the preseason and are really back within a shout of making the playoffs again. Now, before their bye week, it wasn't looking great. They sat at 3-6, but with 5 wins in the last 6, and their only loss being to the Baltimore Ravens, who are on an absolute tear at the moment, they're now sitting at 8-7 and have a chance to clinch a playoff spot this weekend if the Packers tie or the Seahawks lose and they beat us. Now, the Rams sit 7th in total yards per game with 363.9, averaging 241 of those through the air and 122 of those on the ground per game. They are also in the top 10 average scorers with 23.8 points per game. So defensively, they're actually playing really well. Now, Stafford is doing Matthew Stafford's things. Another solid season from him. Man just seems to just be a warrior, just battling through everything that he can. His 3,648 yards place him 8th, and that's despite him missing a game earlier in the season. He's also throwing for 23 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. In the running game, and this was something that really shocked me, the Rams have got Kyron Williams, who has only played 11 games this season, yet has 1,057 rushing yards, which is second most in the league. And his 96.1 yards per game actually leads the NFL. Now, to round out the attack, we all know about Cooper Kupp, but Puka Nacua, 1,327 yards on the season. Needs 146 for the all-time rookie record, which has stood since, I think, 1950. So he is a problem, especially when Cooper Kupp is as good as he is. Now, the Giants have only held opposing offenses under 100 rushing yards 3 times this season. And they faced the other 4 of the top 5 rushers already, giving up 99.75 yards per game when they faced those rushers. How are we going to keep in check the most informed rusher in the league, Shane?
I mean, it's going to be a tough ask. Obviously, we'll come on to in a little while, but obviously Dex, he's more than likely going to be on a snap count potentially, or I'd be very surprised if Dex is back at 100%. So you're going to be relying on the likes of Sean Robinson. And I think the linebackers are going to play a key role. We mentioned in the last episode that Micah McFadden had 3 missed tackles. We can't afford many missed tackles this week. So if I do get through that D line of Sean or Jordan Riley, for instance, we're going to need the likes of Bobby O, Micah McFadden, and maybe even Isaiah Simmons to step up. Tackling is going to be key this week because Kyron Williams can break tackles and can gain a lot of yards after contact. So the key for me is going to be stopping the run, winning the trenches battle. If we don't win the trenches, know that you got your DBs and your linebackers backing you up.
Dan?
Yeah, pretty much along those same lines, really. It's no secret that we struggle to stop the run. I think we ranked 29th in the league in run defense, giving up just shy of 135 yards a game, which, for Kyron Williams is just another day at the office, really. It's going to be difficult. We've struggled more against the run, I think, since Big Cat left as well. I think he left quite a big hole in that defensive line. Sean's filled in well. Jordan Riley's filled in well. But I don't think we've had that real sort of big run stuffer in the middle since Big Cat left. I mean, I might be wrong. Might be, statistically might be wrong, but that's just the sort of the feeling I've got. So that front 3 need to step up. Yeah, Dexy's going to be on a snap count. Obviously, he's still not 100% after his injury. And yeah, really, it comes down to, like Shane said, getting your tackles. Not missing those tackles. If we can't finish that tackle, we can't expect to hold this Rams Russian attack to under 100 yards. And it's going to take a hell of an effort from the linebackers as well. If they get through the trench to get through the D line, it's going to take a hell of an effort for the linebackers to bring them down as well. So yeah, tackling is key this week.
You are right, though, in that kind of analysis of Leonard Williams. If you think Williams was traded at the trade deadline, which is week 9, I think when we went over for the Patriots game, that was week 12. And Dex was missing from that game because of the hamstring injury that he'd suffered the week before, week 11. So if you think about it, Dex had week 9, week 10, injured himself week 11, and since then has been on a snap count pretty much because he's battling through because he's a monster. But that means that Sean's obviously had to come in, who's done very well. Nacho, who was injured last week and could be injured for this week, that's a potential concern. Jordan Riley's obviously playing more snaps than we expected him to. and has looked good, but he's still a rookie. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all kind of shuffles through. I mean, just quickly before we sort of start talking about the Rams defense, Shane, Puka Nacua, was he on your radar pre-draft?
He was, but he wasn't anywhere kind of. He was one of those like kind of day 3 kind of guys, and I didn't envision him having the season that he has had. In all honesty, I don't think many people did. For me, he was definitely a day 3 pick. There was him and Jake Boba, who were the kind of two underdogs that was the ones to watch out. But I don't think anyone could have predicted him having the season that he's gone on to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So defensive side of the ball.
Just quickly as well.
Go on then.
Is it just me, or would you love to have a quarterback right now like Matthew Stafford?
I mean, I'd love to have a quarterback right now.
Hot takes.
But you know what I mean? Though he just seems to be Mr. Consistent in terms of he's always getting yards, he's always throwing touchdowns. Whether it's for Detroit or it's LA, he just seems to always be consistently there or thereabouts in the top 5, top 10 in terms of passing yards. And to have a quarterback like that at the moment, I would absolutely fucking love it. But unfortunately, we don't.
If you think about it, Kenny Golladay had his best seasons with Matthew Stafford under centre, and came here and obviously was not the same player that Stafford had. But it does kind of beg the question: was it Golladay making Stafford look good, or was it Stafford making Golladay look good? And I always go back to it's replayed quite a lot, but I always go back to that Detroit game where Stafford, I think he popped his shoulder out, didn't he? And he went over to the sideline.
Dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah, he's like whimpering, and he gets back in the game. And Stafford kind of just gives me that kind of Andrew Luck vibe where they're quite humble, but also they just battle through. And Stafford's one of those quarterbacks that I really like. I just always have. I've always thought he was good, and obviously we don't get a lot of chance to talk about opposing quarterbacks, and a lot of them we do dislike because we have people like Dak and Jalen Hurts in our division. Yeah. But yeah, Stafford's definitely one that I think I've got a lot of respect for.
And some would say that if we tank, we do get a quarterback. So just saying. Now it's like all the online bullshit I have to put up with.
What have we started here? Right, defensively, the Rams have been more kind of middle of the pack. They allow 337 yards per game with an average of 231 through the air and 105 on the ground. As always, the main man on defense is Aaron Donald, who is still wrecking opposing offensive lines. His 78 pressures lead all defensive interior players, as do his 57 hurries. He is slightly behind Dex in the PFF ratings. That's kind of one of the reasons I don't want Dex to play anymore this season, just so he can sit there nice and pretty at the top of that defensive ratings. But Dex isn't going to roll over and shut himself down. He's going to want to get out there. Their run game has been pretty stout. They recently held the Commanders to under 80 yards 2 weeks ago, and then last week against the Saints, they held them to just 35 yards, despite the fact that they have, Gadget Man, Taysom Hill, and Kamara, who has slowed down as he's got older, but still has that tendency to break a tackle and be shifty. Now, a lot of this can be attributed to Ernest Jones. The linebacker has 41 stops on this season and is recording pretty much career high numbers in most categories. I do know that Sean McVay a couple of weeks ago did say that he kind of contributes a lot of this to Bobby Wagner, who is obviously at the Seahawks now, or back with the Seahawks, should I say, but was with the Rams last year, and apparently kind of took Jones under his wing a little bit and kind of taught him a few tricks of the trade. Now, their defense isn't impenetrable, though. They do have a weakness, but it is that pass coverage now, especially at safety. John Johnson and Quentin Lake have both shown limitations in range and coverage skills, meaning that they can sometimes be exploited. And at cornerback, veteran Akalo Witherspoon is their main man, but He's allowed a team high 4 touchdowns, but he does also have 3 of the Rams' 8 interceptions. So, kind of a mixed bag there from him. Now, we've banged on about getting a running game established for as long as the season has gone on, but this seems the week to kind of attack the pass defense. What's your level of confidence in Tyrod Taylor being able to do this, Dan? That says a lot.
I mean, now that he's obviously been named starter for this weekend, obviously he's going to be starter for the rest of the season, obviously for week 18 as well. He showed glimpses of the Tyrod of old in the second half against Philly, but he also, he showed he's not scared of throwing a deep ball. 7-16 for 133 yards, and with that 69-yard touchdown to Slayton. But then also threw the game-ending interception as well, and looked inconsistent. Made some bad reads and bad throws. So, he is what you expect him to be. He's Tyrod Taylor. He's the backup quarterback. Does he fill me with confidence? No. Can he do it against LA? The secondary is pretty weak, so potentially could do it. But the fact that the Rams give up more through the air than we do, I'm hoping he can take advantage of that secondary. How confident I am that he can do it, I wouldn't put my house on it, but I'm hopeful.
Shane, what do you think? I mean, obviously we spoke yesterday about the passes to Waller and to Saquon that Tyrod missed. Now, obviously, it's good that those plays are developing enough that we're getting players open, but we're going to need to capitalise on that against the Rams, who are probably have a more hot hands than maybe the Eagles did.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the key is going to be do just enough on offense. The key battle is going to be their offense against our defense. I think we're going to have to rely once again very heavily on the defense to win this game for us, or put us in a position to win this game. Tyrod's a backup for a reason. He's been a career backup essentially, or a career bridge QB for most of the time he's been in the NFL for a particular reason. I mean, another key one's going to be how the O-line's going to hold up. Is it going to give him enough time? It depends what O-line kind of turns up. If it's the one that turns up like against the Saints, we've probably got no chance. If it's the one that turns up against Green Bay, then we've got some chance. But Dave's has decided, or Dave's and his coaching staff have decided that Tyrod gives us the best opportunity of winning these games. You imagine he's going to get the next 2 unless he literally bombs on Sunday and ends up finding himself benched in favour of Tommy, which kind of helps nobody in all honesty, because it won't help Tommy know what they kind of think of him. They're just using him because Taylor's so bad, rather than using him because they believe in him. So I think Tyrod just needs to do enough, but we're going to have to rely on the defense to get the job done.
Do either of you have any concerns over Tyrod's durability?
I mean, Aaron Donald. All it takes is one big hit, and Tyrod's ribs are going to be cracked again. You going back to what you said, Shane, about obviously Tyrod is supposedly that gives us the best chance to win. Does he really? Does he really give us a better chance to win than Tommy DeVito does right now? I don't think that he does.
That's what the coaching staff think. It seems.
I think there's something else to Tyrod being put in the game on Monday, and Tommy being pulled from the game, than it just being the best chance to win. Still doesn't sit right with me. I think it was a weird decision, especially halfway through the game.
Yeah, I mean, Dave's kind of explained it away, didn't he? As they thought Tyrod could spark something, and I think he was lucky because obviously we took over on the kickoff, didn't we? Where with the fumble, and admittedly, all Tyrod did is he handed the ball off to Saquon 3 times, and Saquon scored. But I get it. I get it from a standpoint of during that game against the Eagles. Yes, the offense was doing more than it had done in that first half with Tommy. But I'm kind of on that board of what Shane said in our previous episode of like, why we're not playing for anything other than draft position now. Why not just leave DeVito in there, see what you've got, see how he deals with adversity. At the end of the day, we all expected us to get absolutely spanked by the Eagles, and in the end it was close. But I don't think anyone was really throwing their toys out the pram at half time saying, pull the kid. It was very much almost like just a decision that was made in that locker room by Daves.
No, I don't think anyone was calling for DeVito to be benched. Not that I saw of on socials anyway. So the fact that it happened was a bit of a surprise. But, I mean, if Tyrod gives us the best chance to win this weekend, according to the coaches, then put your money where your mouth is. Let's go out and get the win this weekend. Because they'll have egg on their face if he doesn't.
Indeed. Injury report?
Yeah, have we got it?
Yeah, well, obviously we're pre-recording this and we're recording this on, I forgot what day it is. Wednesday evening. Thank you, Dad. So the first injury report of the week is completely based off Wednesdays. A lot could change between now and then. But Deontay Banks shoulder, Lawrence Cager groin, Dexter Lawrence hamstring, Ashawn Robinson back, and Nacho knee all did not participate. Barkley elbow, Wandale quad, JMS shoulder, Waller knee, Bredesen quad, Gillen left groin and left knee, Adoree Jackson ankle, and Justin Pugh elbow were all limited. Jamie Gillen left groin and left knee. That must be, is he left footed, right footed? Anybody know? Anybody pay that much attention?
I want to say he's left footed,
He's right, isn't he?
There we go. That's good. That's good. That's cleared that up. Thanks, boys. Either way,
I'll have a look.
If that's his plant leg and there's 2 injuries there, it doesn't bode well. And if it's his kicking leg, I mean, we've all seen how high kickers get their leg. The groin injury is not going to help at all. Are you both on it? Are you both trying to find out what foot Jamie Gillen kicks with?
I reckon if it's left, Dan has to get on board the tank. I need to get you a ticket printed out.
Where is it? There we go. He is. I ain't getting on the train. He's left-footed.
I know my lefties, I tell you.
So there we go. So left groin, left knee injury. It's his kicking leg. Obviously, both of them are going to take quite an impact. One with the motion, and then 2 with the actual kicking itself.
I mean, as an alternative, I mean, Shane, you showed you a bit of a pro at the old field goals on the turf at MetLife. You reckon you could give punting a go?
Oh, easy. I mean, look, I'm a left footer as well, so it'd be like minimal adjustments for the team. They're not going to try like, oh yeah, we need to send it off to the right a little bit more. It's just a natural swap.
There we go. We haven't got a Scottish hammer now. We've got the yam hammer. There you go.
The yammer.
The yammer. The yammer. Boom. Sign him up.
Oh,
Thomas McGahey, sign him up. Come on.
We just in case anyone's wondering, listening to it, we ain't been drinking tonight. I know these episodes just seems a little bit like it's getting a little bit skewed at times. We're fully sober. Well, I'm fully sober.
Kind of.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. You could say that. You could say that. All right. Predictions then. Is it me up first? It's me up first, isn't it? All right. I mean, part of me wanted to go, actually, no, fuck it. Let's go out and predict a win for this game. But that was ever the optimist in me. The realist in me says otherwise. Fell short in Philly last week. We're way off the mark against the Saints. We're on a 2-game losing streak, following our 3-game win streak, which seemed to turn our season around a little bit, but it's all fallen flat on our face ever since. Now that Tommy Cutlets has been benched as well in favour of Tyrod, our postseason hopes are over. I think it's safe to say 2023 is all but done. I'm not on the train, won't ever be on the train, so don't even think I am. With 2 weeks to go, my only hope is that only hope for the rest of the season is that we at least look competitive still, whether we win or lose the games. LA coming into the game, won 5 of the last 6. Their only loss in that span is in overtime against the AFC leading Ravens. In that 6-game span, the Rams are averaging just shy of 30 points per game, with Matt Stafford passing for almost 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns compared to only 2 interceptions. And Kyron Williams is hitting over 100 yards, rushing in 4 of his last 5 games. The Rams are currently 4.5-point favourites. I see him covering that spread. I see him being victorious this week. I've gone for a 24-17 Rams win.
He's on the train. He's on the train.
Yeah, I'm not on the train. I just can't see us winning this game. Kev went for a similar scoreline, a 27-21 Rams win. Shane, Giants win?
Absolutely not. I'm going to join you and Kev on the train. It's going to get a little bit cozy here, but we make space for each other. I'm going for Rams 24, Giants 20. Damn, we lose again.
But you haven't got the Rams covering though, so you're gonna pick the Giants on Sunday against the spread.
No, I'll just do the opposite of everyone else because I like putting the Giants on our bets.
It is very, very true, isn't it? Like, it's always that thing of I will never ever put bets on Leeds or Reading just because it's not happening. You just don't do it. There is no lone wolf. It is a full house. I have also got the Rams winning 28-20. I've got the Rams scoring the most points against us. I just feel like it's a bit too much. The Rams are on a little bit of a high. They have a playoff clinching scenario this week. They've got much more to play for than what we do in the terms of playoffs. It just doesn't make any sense for us really to prove anyone wrong.
It doesn't, no. But I mean, the only train I'll ever be part of, along with Steve, is the integrity train. So yeah, there we go.
To be fair, we do still have a lot of free agents, obviously playing for jobs. Before the pod, we were going through the list of free agents.
Yep.
I mean,
it's a long list.
A hell of a lot of free agents, thanks to our ever-growing list of injuries, and I think we got 3 kickers on there as well.
Yep.
So there's still a lot of people who need to prove things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll go through that list no doubt in a few weeks. So make sure you check it out and stay tuned to watch that when it comes up. All right, last before we go, just a quick one. The guys over at Talking Giants, Bobby and Justin, ran a poll about the coaching staff and the GM with the following results. So 94% believe that Joe Shane is the right GM for the Giants, while 93% believe that Brian Daboll is the right head coach. Only 38% of fans believe Mike Kafka should be back in 2024. Not surprising there. 87% of people believe that Wink Martindale should be back. So potentially an unpopular decision could be coming. And lastly, again, in not a great shock or great surprise, 96% of fans believe special teams coordinator Thomas McGahee should be fired after 6 seasons with the Giants. I mean, out of those results, Shane, which one of those is most shocking to you?
I'm going to presume that didn't include Bobby Johnson because we're just taking it's going to be 100% vote and he's going to be sacked either way.
They did do one for Bobby Johnson. I am just finding it here. So with 1,042 votes, there is 98% of people say no, they are not happy with the job that he has done. which means there are 2% who are happy.
It was the two.
How many people? How many people voted? Sorry,
1,042. So 2% of that is 21, 20.
So who in God's green earth were the 21 people that decided that Bobby Johnson has done a good job as offensive line coach?
Trolls.
Get in touch with us. 21 people. Get in touch with us. Big Blue
Trolls and
KRL on Twitter.
masochists.
Got to be Philly fans or something, Tenny. But now I think
yeah.
the most shocking to me, probably the most surprising, it's 38% for Mike Kafka coming back. I thought it'd probably be a little bit closer to that kind of 50% mark. I think for me, I'm going to say he should be back, and that's purely because if we're going to criticise the O-line play so much and say the O-line coaching has been bad, then what hope have you got of your plays developing correctly in the way that you've probably drew them up? Now, admittedly, Mike Kafka, or maybe it's Dable. To me, there's still a little bit up in the air as to who's actually calling the majority of the players, or how often Daves is getting involved. There are questionable decisions, like we've said many times on this podcast when we've spoke about the game back, or even when we've been doing a live watch along just between us four. We've all called a play before it's happened. Like one Dale doing that stupid sweep run motion. It's a run all day long. Everyone knows it's going to be a run. So yeah, that is questionable. But I do think, like I say, at the same time, if you're going to criticise the O-line as much as what we have done and Bobby Johnson, then what chance he's got of his plays developing, like play action, etc., if the O-line can't block?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same sort of train there. I'm not surprised most people want Wink back. I'm not surprised a lot of people want McGahee gone. I'm not surprised that people want Dabes and Shane to stay, because we cannot keep getting rid of head coaches after 2 years. And I can't see us getting rid of a GM after 2 years. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it's not like we've gone, 0-17, 0-17. There's at least been something there. We had a playoff win last year. I think that kind of gives you almost a little bit of a mulligan there. The Kafka one is surprising. There was a very good comment that someone made, or point that someone made, where it was like, it's a bit, I think it might have even been Bobby Skinner, who said, it's quite surprising to me that so many people want Dabes to stay but don't want Kafka. Whereas they're both offensive-minded people. They both have their thumbs in the offensive pie. It's almost like a one or the other. So it does seem quite a big disparity between the two of them. I'm still not sure about Kafka. I think there are times where I get it, and then there are times where I just don't understand what he's trying to do. I know our offensive line is crap, and a lot of the other offensive lines that have struggled haven't done well this season. But you look at what the Texans have been able to do with CJ Stroud behind a line that isn't amazing. I'm not sure what to do with Kafka. It wouldn't surprise me if he walked, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've been quite vocal in my displeasure at Mike Kafka, but you're right in the fact that Coach Daboll is an offensive-minded coach, and he obviously does have a say in what goes on the offense. But at the same time, Kafka's obviously, it's down to him to draw up the offensive game plans. Now, if his game plans aren't good enough, then why is Dave signing off on him? Why is he agreeing to him? So yeah, I can absolutely see what Bobby is saying there, in the fact that there is a huge disparity between the two, in terms of a vast majority of people think Dave's is the one, but don't think Kafka's the one. I think I expected the result of Kafka to be higher if that number for Dave's is higher, which it is. So that's a little bit of a surprise to me. I think the biggest surprise, though, is that 100% of people don't want Thomas McGahee as special teams coordinator next season. Who are the 4% that want him back? because our special teams has been, I mean, to put it another way, an absolute disgrace this season.
And probably
So
not
just,
just
I
this
mean,
season.
just for
exactly.
an impromptu question, just to put you on the spot: sack one, keep one, McGahey or Bobby Johnson?
Jesus Christ. I would get rid of Bobby Johnson.
Sack one, keep one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd get rid of Bobby Johnson as well.
Get rid of Bobby Johnson, and then strategically somehow push McGahey out the door
No,
as well.
you're keeping him. You're keeping him. You sack one, you keep one. That's the rules of the game.
No, there's a way around it. There's a way around it. Yeah, McGahey's got to go.
I'd
then
choose
so's
Bobby
Bobby
Johnson
Johnson.
because I think the O line is much more pivotal to a game than what
For
special
special
teams. You can kind of,
Yeah.
it's as frustrating as it is, you can get by with bad special teams play. You've got an offense and a defense that can make up for it.
So
Very
just
true.
to put it into perspective, the Thomas McGahey one was 100. I'm just working it out now. So about 150 people said yes, keep him.
What?
Yeah, I think my maths works out about right there. About 150 people.
How many people voted on that?
3,731. It was 4%. So 35, 70, 140. Add the 12, about 152 ish.
Yeah, about 150 people. Yeah.
Dan, were you one of the 150 people?
Was I? Fuck. Hell, fucking no. I mean, special teams have been poor for a long time.
Mm.
And I mean, we cleared house when we got rid of Joe Judge. Yeah, we new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. The only one that stayed was Thomas McGahey, and he's next on the list. See you later, mate. Can't see him being here. I can't see him being here after the end of the season, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. We'll find out very soon, no doubt. Alrighty, that is all we have time for this week, and also not just for this week, but for this year, Giants fans. We'll be back on Tuesday next week to look back at the Rams game and bring you our first episode of 2024. That's mad. Anything else to add before we go, guys?
Nah, just mental. Next time we're doing this is next year. Sounds crazy to say, though. But it's been a fantastic year. We'll wrap up the year that we've had kind of once the season's all over and that. But whatever you do, New Year's Eve, just have a good time. Try to enjoy the game. Try not to let it impact your New Year's celebrations. And let us know what you think. Obviously, I said left footer. Dan said right footer. Dan was wrong. Should Dan have to get on the tank train as a result? Let us know what you reckon.
No,
just no.
Just no.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
No, just to kind of echo kind of what Shane said. This year has been crazy, but I guess in a weird, twisted way, we almost work on the league year schedule as opposed to kind of the year schedule. So when I think about the little collage we have at the end where it's like 2023, what we've done, etc., that kind of still just carries over until March, April, when the league year resets.
The league year ends,
yeah. It kind of is very difficult to segregate it because you think of this year and you think of everything that's happened. Well, it started with a win in Minnesota. It's we can't forget about that. Was still this year, so
it seems like an age ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of good's happened. A lot of bad has happened, but you never know what next year brings.
No, you don't. You never know what next year brings. And no matter how many of you decide you want me to join that tank train, it's not going to happen. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. Integrity train all the way. Yeah. 2023 has been epic. We've brought you 70 plus episodes, had some outstanding guests, and then topped it all off with our trip to New York at the end of November. We wouldn't be where we are without all of our listeners, viewers, and followers. So from all of us here on the podcast, a massive thank you to everyone, and we wish you a very happy and very prosperous New Year. And we hope you have a good evening on Sunday night. Make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell to get the latest updates and notifications. And feel free to give us a rating on your platform of choice. Check out our Etsy shop as well, etsy.com/BigBlueUKIRL to get yourselves some podcast merch. For the last time this year, my thanks as ever go to Shane and to producer Craig for joining me, and to you, the viewers and listeners, for tuning in. We are signing off until next year. Let's go Giants.